Hi everyone, and welcome to Lilia's Kitchen. If you're new to my channel, please make sure to subscribe so you're in the know of any of my newest and upcoming tasty recipes. And if you're not new, well, welcome back and thank you for your support. So today we're making Cochinita Pibil because I was inspired by my souvenir from the Yucatan Peninsula. So cochinita means literally baby piggy, and then pibil means the type of pit that the Mayans used to prepare this dish. So the three key ingredients for this dish is the annato. I've got annatto powder here, so it'll be easier to prepare. And then they used a bittersweet orange, but because it's difficult to find, you can easily achieve that with oranges and limes. That's what gives this dish its beautiful bright red color and then that tenderness to it. So I'm bringing my pan to a medium-high heat so I can roast all of my spices and my garlic. So I'm going to start out by roasting my garlic, and this is a dry roast, so you don't need any oil for this. It's just to bring out the aroma in all of this. You want that roasted flavor when you combine it with the rest of the spices and your citrus. So that's what I'm going to do. I start out with my garlic, and I do that alone until it gets a little bit golden, kind of like a brown color. And then we'll move on to the rest, and I'll show you that. I'm going to take these out now that they've been a little charred. You'll notice that the oils in it come out as well. It becomes stronger. Now I'm using black peppercorns, some ground cumin. I'm going to dry roast that along with the ground allspice. You can use powder, and you really want to turn these. And then you bring down the heat so you make sure you don't overcook this. And you just do this enough, maybe about 2 minutes. You'll start to really smell the allspice, the cumin, and the black peppercorns. If you don't have ground spices, you can use whole spices. We're going to blend this anyways in a blender. All right, so I've got my annatto paste. I'm kind of smashing it down a little bit. I'm gonna add my citrus to this just to thin it out before I put it in my blender. That way it makes it a little easier for my blender to mix it. So to all the spices that we roasted, I'm going to add the oregano, salt to your taste, and the mixture mixed, and my orange juice. Now we blend this all up. Now that my sauce is ready, I'm going to pour this over the pork. So the type of cut that I'm using is a pork tenderloin. It's not a lean one. I actually asked my butcher if he can just leave a little bit of the fat because we don't cook this in any oil. We want it to cook kind of with its own oil so it could be really moist. If you can't find pork tenderloin, you can also use pork shoulder. It's also called pork roast or butt roast if you want to use that. So you can use either one, whichever one is easier to find. And we pour the entire sauce over our pork. And you could leave this marinating overnight. Just gonna cover this in all of the sauce. I like to leave mine in whole pieces. When you cook this, it ends up easily shredding, so there's no need to do double work. So I just let this get covered in all the sauce. I'm poking holes, that way the orange juice and the lime juice and then the paste can penetrate the meat and it'll be really tasty that way. So I do that to both sides. Just be gentle with it. I think this is good for me. You can refrigerate this for an hour. It's best if it's done overnight. So while that's going on, I'm going to slice up some onions that I'm going to be adding to this once it's ready to cook. So I'm going to go ahead and refrigerate this for about an hour. So now I'm going to prepare our pan where we're going to cook our pork in. So I'm using some banana leaves, and you can easily find these at any Mexican store. So the purpose for this is to make sure that your meat doesn't stick to your pan, and also make sure that it's a little bit more moist. It also gives off a slight nice flavor to this. You really can't taste it so much, but you'll notice the difference if you cook it in a regular pan without this. It doesn't have the same flavor as this. So now I'm going to roast these up just to make them slightly softer, so it's easier for me to mold and create kind of like a background or carpet where I'll be sitting my pork in. So what we do, all right, so brought my heat up to high, and then once it was at really hot, then I brought it to low. So as you can see, my banana leaf is starting to get really oily. That means it's starting to soften up. So you gotta be kind of quick with it so it doesn't burn. But I don't know if you can see the center right here, it's kind of oily. So it'll start to soften up, and you can fold it, kind of flip it. You can see, notice it more on this side. So just start doing this to all sides. Okay, now that it's soft, I'm using a pan like this. If you have something deeper than this, it'll be even better. So what I do is just, now that it's easier to fold, kind of cover every side with this. You'll just push it in. And we'll still have other pieces that will overlap, so if it doesn't all get covered in it, it'll be fine. So now I'm gonna do the same with the rest of my banana leaves. All right, so because this entire leaf has to cover the pork, and mine will probably be sticking up a little higher, I'm gonna leave an extra overlapping piece. So I did this, and I'll do it to all sides. Actually gotta do the one in the bottom. Now one that's longer on this side. Got extra pieces that I'll use once my pork is in. So since this looks about ready, I'm actually gonna add some onions that I already had cut up, and I just thinly sliced them. So put some on the bottom. And then we're gonna dump our pork meat in there, and then I'm also gonna add 2 bay leaves for extra flavor. So let me get that out of the refrigerator, and then we'll get this going. I'm gonna add 1 bay leaf to the bottom. The other one will add to the top. So now you want to add your fattier piece at the bottom, and then your thinnest piece of meat at the top. So do that, and now you pour all of your sauce in, and now you continue adding onions to the top like this. And we'll add this other bay leaf. Now we're going to close all these pieces in. Kind of tuck it in. And it creates kind of like a steaming pocket. And that is it. So I've got my oven preheated on high. You want to make sure that when this goes in, it's really hot, so it all cooks up evenly. And what I'm going to do so the banana leaf doesn't burn even more is cover this with additional aluminum foil, and then halfway during the cooking time, I'm going to remove the top layer and kind of check up and see on the meat. All right, now that this is covered with aluminum foil, I set it on top of another pan, and then I added water to the bottom of this pan because you want to create more steam. You don't want this to dry up. And I'm going to cook it on the lowest rack in my oven. That way it assures it's cooking up a lot quicker and doesn't take even more hours. So the Cochinita Pibil needs its pairings on the side. Because it's not spicy, we actually create a spicy pickled vegetable version. So we're gonna get started with our habaneros. I'll show you how to cut those, but beforehand, a little trick that I do is I put a little olive oil in my hands to create a barrier between the spice and my hands so it doesn't penetrate. And when you wash your hands, they're not spicy because this is a really spicy pepper. So what you do is take this end off and cut this in half, and then you remove these seeds. It doesn't have a whole lot of seeds, and it's kind of easy to remove. And you very thinly slice this up. So start off with our onions. If you don't like the strong taste of onions, then you can put this in a strainer and pass warm water through it. That way a lot of the natural juices could come up. And we'll add our habaneros. I like to add a little extra oregano. And then I just kind of crush it a little bit more with my hands. Salt to taste. And you'll need, I'll be using 1 to 2 limes, but it obviously depends on the amount that you make. And I'll be adding that second lime once I give it a good stir. And that is it for the pickled hot sauce. Right? So I took it out of the oven. I let it rest actually in the oven for an additional 20 minutes. And we're going to open it up. The reason it got darker is because the leaves cooked up as well. Be kind of careful with this because the sauce stains your clothing if you get it on there. And here's our meat, guys, that's been overcooked, if you can see that. This is perfect. And I'm actually going to serve this over tacos. If you want to check out the tortilla recipe, I've got it up here, and that's actually what I'm going to pair them with. Make them into tacos, and then serve it with the pickled dressing or pickled salsa that I showed you earlier. So I hope you enjoyed this recipe. Thank you for watching. I hope you subscribe. I've also got my social media down below if you want to check it out in the description box below. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.